I downloaded Tinder because I was really bored and honestly I was quite lonely. This was just last year when the whole COVID thing finally started to die down a little bit. I'd actually used Tinder once before this and I've met some pretty decent people off the app. Nothing special though, nor out of the ordinary. The last time I used Tinder, and the last time I'll ever use a dating app again, I met this blonde girl named Haley. She seemed okay at first, hence why I met up with her in the first place. I thought she was cute, and I just really wanted someone to connect with. We seemed to really hit it off, so that's when we decided we should meet up. Let me just tell you now that shit hit the fan and got absolutely crazy. You hear horror stories all the time about people meeting up with strangers from the internet that you never really seem to pay much attention to. Because, well, you think that things like this don't happen often, and the likelihood of it happening to you is slim to none. Well, that's how I thought anyways. I figured we would just go out to eat or maybe catch a movie or something, but she wanted to come to my house instead. As a matter of fact, she insisted. I made up an excuse as to why we couldn't hang out at my place. Really, it was because my house was a mess, and also I just wanted to get out of the house myself anyways. She very bluntly explained to me that we couldn't hang out unless we were to hang out at my house. Look, I know I should have saw this as a red flag, and I think part of me did, but I didn't pay enough attention to it. She was really pretty, and I was lonely. I think she definitely used that to her advantage, because she knew it too. I eventually caved in, and I told her that she could come over. So we set up a time for her to come, and that gave me just enough time to clean the house and to shower and get myself ready. She texted me when she got here, and I let her in. It was extremely awkward at first, and right away I thought that she looked a little different from the picture she had on her Tinder account. I couldn't tell if I was just overthinking or not, and I didn't say anything at first about it because I didn't want to be rude. I'm not all that attractive anyways, so I just kind of let it go, and we started chatting. Things were going okay, and then she asked me if I had anything to drink, alcohol-wise, and I told her I had about a half-fifth of Jameson left in the cupboard. I excused myself to the restroom, and when I came back, she was sitting on the couch with her drink in her hand, and I saw that she had prepared a drink for me as well that was sitting on my glass coffee table. I really wasn't in the mood for alcohol, especially not liquor, so I grabbed a beer out of my fridge and drank that instead. About 3 or 4 beers later, I ended up drinking my mixed drink that she kept pressuring me to drink. In fact, I almost completely decided against drinking it just because of how bad she wanted me to. I had a paranoid OCD-like thought that it was certainly possible that she could have spiked my drink with something while I was using the bathroom, and I had a serious feeling to stay away from the drink she made me altogether. But I let it go eventually because the drunker I got, the more I realized how delusional I sounded to myself. She seemed like a nice girl and we were getting along just fine. Plus it didn't seem like there was anything in my drink, so I figured it was okay. Anyways, I drank it and I didn't feel much different until maybe about 10 or 20 minutes afterwards. But I just played it off as me being drunk and overthinking. After all, I am a lightweight and 6 drinks is way more than enough to keep me pretty messed up. This is where things started to get really weird. The last thing I remember was we were sitting on the couch and I started feeling very strange. I started to feel fainty and very dizzy until I ultimately passed out completely. I had to have been out cold for at least 5 hours because I woke up at the ass crack of dawn and what I discovered was nothing short of a nightmare. I was lying on my bedroom floor and I awoke in a terrified state of mind. I slowly started to piece together that something was horribly wrong and I was still feeling weird from the drugs she had roofied me with. The first thing I noticed was that my whole entire body was in serious pain. All the way from my neck to my arms and my back and my stomach too. I had bruises all over me and I had over 5 serious stab-like puncture wounds, along with deep cuts in both of my arms and my stomach. I got up and I saw that my bed and that the floor in my room was soaked with blood and the walls as well. I about fainted again when I saw this and I remember feeling like I couldn't breathe. I went to grab my phone to call the police, but I couldn't find it. Turned out that she had stole my phone and all 4 of my TVs that were in my house, along with some jewelry and some of my safes that had over $20,000 in it. I looked all around my house, but nobody was in sight. My house was a complete wreck though, as she destroyed windows, vandalized just about every room, and I mean she just completely demolished everything. I remember looking in the mirror at one point and having a complete breakdown. I couldn't believe that any of this was real. I'm almost 100% positive that there was somebody else other than the girl that I met that was in on this. It's hard for me to even type this out, but my stomach had a really disturbing wound, in which they used my blood to draw a pentagram on the wall of my bedroom with. I found one of my old phones in my dresser, and I plugged it into the charger, and I connected it to the Wi-Fi so I could call a friend on FaceTime audio, so they could get the cops out to my house, and I just waited for them to show up. It was probably about 20 minutes, if that. I don't know what the hell she drugged me with exactly, but it was reported as some sort of rare, extremely powerful tranquilizer. I gave all the information I could to the police, and I logged into my Tinder account on my old phone in hopes that the account would still be there so I could show the police, but of course, they unmatched me and probably deleted the account. Not that it would have helped much anyways, because I'm pretty sure I was catfished. They never caught the people who did this. I actually moved to a new house a couple of months back, and I don't live in as much fear now. I also have security cameras, and I have an ADT security alarm system set up now too, which I recommend everybody has if possible. It could save your life. I made one of the most idiotic decisions I have ever made a few years back that ultimately led me straight to a downright horrible and absolutely barbaric situation with someone that I presume is honestly a serial killer or even worse potentially. I'm a 21-year-old girl, and this took place about 3 years ago to be exact. I was 18 at the time, and I had just graduated high school. It was the middle of August, and it was a relatively boring day. Up until this point, my summer vacation was extremely boring. My dad and I lived alone, and he was extremely protective of me. So much that he was abusive to me emotionally and psychologically. He wouldn't let me have any friends whatsoever. And every day I had to stay home to either help him with chores around the house or pretty much to be his personal slave. He even took my bedroom door off the hinges to make me feel completely powerless. He never let me have an ounce of privacy, until he finally got me a phone, that is, which was about a month before this all took place. He would usually take my phone at 8 o'clock every night, but he was extremely drunk this night, and he didn't get home from the bar until after 10 o'clock or so. I guess he forgot, either that or he thought I was asleep, so he didn't bother. I'm not sure. Probably a mixture of both. I had Tinder on my phone, and I used that as an escape to meet new people and to socialize. Through all my years of isolation, I was never really able to meet any good friends. Most of the kids at my school either pretended to be my friend, or just flat out picked on me and did their best to make my life a living hell. I had been talking to this guy who we'll call Alex for this story, on Tinder for just over a day, and our friendship progressed pretty quick. I had to be careful though, because my dad would snoop through everything in my phone, so I had to delete anything on it that my dad would not be okay with every night before giving him my phone, which 100% included Tinder. He would have killed me if he knew I was on there. Anyways, this guy I was talking to was 28 years old, and at the time, him being much older attracted me and it boosted my confidence that an older man was talking to me. But looking back, even just a few years ago, I can see how it was definitely kind of creepy of him to be talking to someone my age. Anyways, I sort of told him about my situation at home, and he said that I could come live with him. He reminded me that I'm an adult now, and legally I don't have to abide by my father anymore. I was extremely excited by this, but also terrified. He told me that he could pick me up tonight and that I should get my things ready. I told him that I really wasn't ready for that yet, and that I just wanted to hang out for now, and I asked him if that was okay, to which he agreed. He told me he would be there to pick me up at midnight, and I said okay. I told him that I needed to be back home by 4 a.m., and he said that was okay too. I also told him not to drive down my driveway and to just park on the side of the road, and to text me when he's here and that I'll just come out. My dad's house had kind of a long driveway, and I was scared that my dad would somehow hear him pulling up and wake up, so I figured him parking further away would be much safer for us. He then told me that he preferred to talk over text, and so he asked me for my number. I gave it to him, but I told him that on any other normal night, unless prompted otherwise, to not text me after 8 o'clock. He already knew about my dad, so he agreed. Sure enough, Alex showed up like 5 minutes past 12 o'clock, and he texted me to let me know he was outside like I asked him to. I texted him back and said that I'll be out in just a few minutes. I snuck out of my window and I started making my way down the driveway, and I didn't see any sign of Alex. Like I said before, my dad has a decently long-sized driveway, and each side has a bunch of trees that outline the entirety of the driveway, all the way down to the end of the road by the mailbox. I thought it was weird because I figured I would see a light coming from his car or something, but I think I just figured he had his car turned off to be more low-key and less suspicious since he knew about my dad. As I was walking down the driveway, I was probably about halfway to the road. I started to hear some whispering. I sat there for a moment just observing, and then I heard a man burst out in laughter, then quiet down really quickly again, and then the whispering continued. I started walking again, ever so softly, and I made it within probably 20 feet of who I thought to be was Alex. I could finally start to hear what was being said. I came to the conclusion that he was on the phone because he was having a conversation, but nobody was speaking back from what I could hear. Now, I can admit I was eavesdropping, and this isn't something I would normally do, but given the circumstances of the situation, I'm pretty sure you could understand why I had my guard up so high. And I'm extremely glad I did, because I would probably be dead right now if I hadn't. And that's when I heard the most sickening and disturbing thing I've ever heard in my entire life. He began bragging to whoever he was on the phone with about how he was waiting for me and how he was going to rape the shit out of me, and I quote, "keep me alive for as long as possible." I literally almost puked when I heard this, and I made a bit of ruckus apparently, because right after, Alex seemingly became eerily and abruptly quiet. I thought about running back inside, but I thought I had a better chance of just hiding. I ran back in the direction I came from, towards the house, and I took a hard right into the woods, and I hid in this spot that I knew about. I figured I would be safe for now. About 5 minutes had passed, and not a single noise came about. Then I got a text. It was from Alex. "Where are you?" he asked. I obviously ignored it, and then I turned my ringer off. He then began blowing my phone up with messages and calls until I finally picked up after probably the 5th time of him calling me. I thought it would be a much better idea to answer the phone and to come up with a lie and make an excuse about how I can't come tonight and how I'm really sorry and that we should hang out another time. He didn't buy it though. I think he knew I was on to him. He started getting extremely angry with me and tried to make me feel bad by telling me I wasted his time, and that's when his true colors came out. He started cussing me out and telling me about how horrible I am and how no guy will ever love me and that sort of thing. And then he said something that truly frightened me to my core. "I know where you live, just remember that. I hope you sleep tight, honey. I'll see you soon." And then he hung up. Almost right after that, I heard a car turn on and speed off, and that was thankfully the last time I heard from him. I really wanted to keep the peace because he knew where I lived, and I was just hoping he would stay away after this. I lied awake all night in bed, wondering if he was going to come back or not, and I was terrified he was going to kill me. I blocked him on Tinder and from my phone number as well, and I called my grandma the very next morning while my dad was at work, and I told her what happened. I completely confided in her about my dad and told her about how horrible he had been to me my whole life. She came and picked me up, and we didn't tell my dad anything at all about what happened. My grandma always knew my dad was horrible, but she never knew truly just how bad he was to me at home. I was too scared to tell anyone about it for the longest of time, but it was truly the best decision I've ever made. I've since been much happier, and I'm working on getting my own place with my girlfriend. Life has been moving along, and I've been healing and getting better each day. I tried to contact the police, but they told me they couldn't do anything without any proof, so I knew I was screwed. It's more than likely that Alex is still out there hurting others, if that's even his real name. When I was in college, I pondered the idea of trying out some dating apps like Bumble and Tinder for no reason other than to meet new people and to cure some of my own boredom. I matched with someone I recognized from high school named Claire. We spoke very little about anything really. We only briefly talked about how it was a coincidence that we never spoke before. We had the same group of friends in high school, and our school was relatively small, so I suppose it was kind of weird that we barely knew each other. Conversation very quickly turned into her asking me if I wanted to hang out that night. I was stoked, so of course I said yes, all while trying not to sound overly excited about it. You know, I kind of thought that it was weird that she wanted to hang out so quickly, especially at night, but I hardly questioned it, and I didn't want to ruin my chances. She asked me to come over and told me I could come by anytime after 11 o'clock. She told me that she would be alone and that I should try to bring weed if I could. I didn't smoke, but I knew friends that did, so I showed up with $10 worth of some pretty shitty looking weed, hoping that it would be good enough for her. Looking back, I should have been more wary, and I at least should have told someone I was close with where I was going, because little did I know I was in for an extremely messed up situation. But my 20-year-old curious virgin brain ran rapid with the endless possibilities of me having a lucky night. I think I kind of liked the idea of not knowing what was going to happen, but I never would have thought in a million years that what happened would happen. On my way there, I was excited and I turned on some music and I was singing in my car practically the whole way there. As I started to get closer, probably only 2 minutes away, I started to get a weird feeling as I didn't really recognize the area, and that's when my anxiety kicked in a little bit. When I pulled into the neighborhood, I saw that it was a very rundown area and I started to question if I was in the wrong location. But the address she gave me matched up with where I was, so I continued driving until I stumbled upon her house. I felt my heart drop to my stomach when I saw the house that she gave me the address to. I'm telling you right now, I knew deep down for a fact that something wasn't right. There was something so off about the house and area I was in general. The house was extremely dark, and the only light coming from it was an inside light that was upstairs. I rolled down my foggy tinted window so I could get a better view, and I told myself there was no way I was going to walk up to the house. It literally looked abandoned. I started to drive away, and less than a minute later I received a notification on Tinder from Claire that asked where I was going and to come back. I told her I thought I had the wrong house, and she told me I was wrong about my presumption, and she told me to come back once again. I seriously didn't want to, and I had a horrible feeling about it, but I also wanted it to not be a setup so bad that I foolishly went back. I asked her if she would come outside when I get there, and she called me a wimp and told me that she was just finishing up getting ready and that the door was unlocked and that I can just let myself in. Still to this day, I'm embarrassed by how stupid it was of me to actually follow through with what she said, but I did. I parked the car on the side of the road and I began walking up to the porch. I knocked on the door to let myself be known, and I opened it. I walked in slowly, and right away I could tell that the house was disgusting. It was extremely dark, but from what I could see, it was a mess and really vile looking. I heard some music coming from upstairs, and I saw a light up there as well, so I followed it. "Hello? Claire, I'm here," I said. The closer I got, the more I could make out the music. There was some sort of death metal or black metal music playing, which really freaked me out, honestly, even more. It just added to the creepy and eerie vibe of everything. I finally made it up the stairs, and I saw there was only 2 rooms, one of which was the bathroom that had the light off, and I looked in there and there was nobody. I then pointed my direction at the other door where the music was coming from, but it didn't really look like the bedroom had a light on or anything inside. That's when my anxiety turned to fear, and I really began questioning my choices of how I wound up in this situation. Then the music stopped. I heard a bunch of footsteps walking around on the hardwood tile before me in the room, and people were talking. And then I heard a loud scream come from the bedroom that jump scared me so bad I almost fell down the stairs. Finally, my senses hit me and I realized it was time to leave and how dangerous of a situation I was in. I turned around to run down the stairs, and that's when I saw some guy dressed in black that had gothic makeup on and long dark hair. Almost simultaneously, the door behind me upstairs also opened. "Ethan, hey, it's Claire. I'm glad you could make it," she said. I turned around and I saw that it definitely wasn't Claire from school and that I was 100% being catfished. Then the guy downstairs started walking quickly up the stairs in my direction. Okay guys, this isn't funny anymore, please just leave me alone. And they both started laughing and started calling me names. I knew my only option was to fight or to run, so I thought running would be the first best option. I ran into the bathroom and I managed to shut and lock the door before they could get to me. They both started banging on the door and twisting the doorknob profusely, extremely hard, and told me to let them in. I looked all around for something I could use to act as a weapon, and the next best thing I could find was a toothbrush. I knew that wasn't going to help much, but I figured it was better than nothing. I could stab them in the neck or the eye with it if I really had to, and it came down to it. I started panicking even more when I fully realized the severity of the situation I was in. I opened the shower curtain and I saw there was a window that looked pretty small, but I had to try my luck. It was pretty much my only option at this point. I opened the window and I managed to fit through it, and just as I landed on the roof, I almost slipped and fell to the ground. Luckily I didn't though, and I caught myself. I made my way around the house while still on the roof as I was looking for the safest way down, and I managed to find a trampoline in the backyard that I could jump on to get the hell out of there. I ran like hell all the way to my car, and there wasn't a sign of either of them. They didn't chase me down or anything. I drove away and I called the cops and gave them all the information I had to give. I told them I was driving home and I gave them the address of the place, and the police later stopped by my house that night to tell me what they discovered and so I could make a better statement. Apparently, the people who were setting me up were a group of people in some sort of black metal band that killed innocent people by luring them off of dating apps like Tinder by using a pretty girl as a catfish. In the house, which was abandoned by the way, the police discovered 2 dead bodies of 2 girls that were my age and tons of blood. I think the police actually caught 2 of the murder suspects, but are still looking for the rest of them, and apparently the group called themselves Holy Eternity or something like that. These people are really messed up, and I was almost murdered that night. I've never touched a dating app since, and I don't think I ever will.